You sent the message and there is no reply. You submitted the application, but the door has not opened. You know a conversation must happen, yet every time you imagine it, your heart begins negotiating with the future. Suddenly, you feel you must do something, send another message, make another promise, force another answer because uncertainty feels unbearable. Now consider this carefully. What if the decision you are rushing to make is not obedience at all, but anxiety wearing spiritual language? You may call it discernment. You may say, I just feel led to handle this today. But sometimes that feeling is not direction. Sometimes it is fear demanding immediate relief. That does not make you weak. Pressure is real. Waiting is uncomfortable. An unanswered question can occupy the mind like an unpaid tenant. It moves in, rearranges the furniture, and keeps you awake at night. The desire for resolution is human, but the presence of pressure does not prove the presence of an assignment. Remember this distinction. Urgency describes the intensity of your emotion. Assignment defines the boundary of your responsibility. Anxiety says control the entire outcome. Faith asks, what is the next responsibility I can fulfill? Anxiety wants to control their response, the timing, the opportunity, the consequences, and next Thursday before breakfast. Faith does not demand the whole map. Faith looks for the next honest step. You were never instructed to become the manager of every person, every circumstance, and every future possibility. That position has already been filled. So we are going to examine urgency through 4 tests. First, responsibility. Does this truly belong to you? Second, motive. Are you acting from conviction or merely trying to silence discomfort? Third, timing. Is this the proper moment, or are you forcing movement because waiting feels powerless? Fourth, proportion. What is the smallest faithful action you can take without manipulating the result? Bring one unresolved situation into your mind right now, not 10. Anxiety loves committees. Choose one. Perhaps it concerns a relationship, an opportunity, a financial decision, or a conversation you have postponed. Hold it before you as we proceed, and say this quietly: pressure is not my commander. Say it again with understanding: pressure is not my commander. You do not need to solve the matter yet. You only need enough courage to examine it honestly. Because before we can determine whether this impulse is your assignment, we must expose how fear takes an ordinary problem and manufactures a false emergency. A false emergency begins when fear assigns you a burden that responsibility never gave you. That burden may concern a real problem, but seeing a problem does not automatically authorize you to carry it. A false assignment is responsibility without authority, obligation without instruction, and effort without proper boundaries. Watch how fear operates. First, you notice something, the reply is late, the meeting is delayed, someone's tone changes. Second, you imagine the worst possible meaning. They are rejecting me. The opportunity is gone. The relationship is collapsing. Third, you appoint yourself responsible for preventing that imagined outcome. Fourth, you rush into action and call the rush faithfulness. Now you are not responding to reality. You are responding to a future invented by fear. Consider the unanswered message. At first, it has been 20 minutes. Then you check the phone, nothing. After 30 minutes, you read your own message again. After 40 minutes, you begin interpreting punctuation. Why did I use that comma? That comma has ruined my destiny. Before an hour has passed, you have composed 3 follow-ups, rehearsed an apology, planned the confrontation, and nearly resigned from a relationship that may simply be sitting in traffic. That is how anxiety enlarges responsibility. It tries to make you the supervisor of everybody's calendar, emotions, decisions, and future, and it wants the entire department operating before breakfast. Listen carefully. Diligence and drivenness are not the same. Diligence is calm, focused consistency. It does what is required and continues faithfully. Drivenness is activity fueled by fear. It does more and more, not because more is responsible, but because stillness feels unbearable. Pressure is not proof of direction, but discomfort is not proof that an action is wrong either. Feelings matter, but feelings must be examined. They are signals, not sovereigns. Fear may tell you that something is happening inside you. It cannot by itself tell you what must happen next. Write this principle down. Every problem you can see is not automatically a problem you have been assigned to solve. Say it aloud. Every problem I see is not mine to solve. Now return to the situation you selected. Ask one honest question. What does fear predict will happen if I do not act immediately? Name the prediction. Do not decorate it. Do not spiritualize it. Bring it into the light. Once you recognize the chain problem, catastrophe, false responsibility, frantic action, you can interrupt it. And when urgency is no longer your authority, you can become still long enough to discover what is actually true. But many people fear stillness because they think pausing means they are weak. They assume that if they do not act immediately, they are being lazy, indecisive, or unfaithful. So they keep moving not because they have direction, but because motion protects them from having to examine themselves. Stillness is not the absence of responsibility. Stillness is the refusal to let emotional pressure make decisions before truth has been heard. Write that down. Stillness is not escape, it is examination. When you become still, you are not abandoning the situation. You are bringing it before prayer, truth, and principle. You are saying, I will not allow fear to vote before the facts arrive. That is discipline. There is also a difference between resting and quitting. Quitting abandons responsibility. Rest removes anxiety from responsibility. Quitting says, I will do nothing. Rest says, I will do what is mine without pretending that everything is mine. This is why spiritual rest can exist while you are still working. Your hands may remain active while your heart stops striving. You can prepare without panicking. You can serve without controlling. You can wait without collapsing. Rest is not freedom from work. It is freedom from anxious work. Now practice this. Stop rehearsing every possible outcome. Silence the imaginary conversations. Step away from the endless opinions, notifications, comparisons, and repeated checking. If you consult 12 people, refresh the screen 30 times, and inspect every facial expression, you are not necessarily gaining wisdom. You may simply be giving anxiety 12 microphones. Take a slow breath. Name the decision you are facing. Now say, no emotion will make this decision alone. Ask 3 questions. First, what is fact? State only what you actually know. Second, what is assumption? Identify the story your mind has added. Third, what am I afraid will happen? Name the outcome you have been trying to prevent. These questions do not deny emotion. They place emotion in its proper position. Feelings may testify, but they cannot preside over the court. Clarity often comes after surrender because surrender ends the exhausting attempt to calculate every future. The mind becomes quieter when it no longer believes it must control every variable. You may not receive the whole answer at once, but you become capable of recognizing the next faithful instruction. Here is the division of labor. You are responsible for obedience. You are not responsible for controlling every result. Say it again. I will obey, but I will not control. Stillness gives you the space to separate those two things. And with the emotional noise lowered, we can apply the first test. What part of this situation genuinely belongs to you? Responsibility is stewardship. It means caring faithfully for what has actually been placed in your hands. It does not mean placing the whole world in your hands and then asking God to help you hold it. Take the situation you have chosen and divide it into 3 categories. First, what must I do? These are your real responsibilities. Honor your commitments. Prepare properly. Communicate honestly. Establish necessary boundaries. Correct your mistakes and perform your work consistently. If you gave your word, keep it. If you cause harm, acknowledge it. If preparation belongs to you, prepare. Responsibility begins with what is already within reach. Second, what may I influence? You may offer counsel, make a request, present an opportunity, or speak with compassion. Influence allows you to contribute, but it does not grant you control. You can plant an idea in someone's mind. You cannot climb inside and make it grow. Third, what can I not control? You cannot control another person's approval, maturity, response, timing, or final decision. You cannot govern unseen developments, changing circumstances, or the final outcome. Those things may affect you, but being affected by something does not place it under your authority. In a relationship, Your assignment may be to speak truth respectfully, apologize sincerely, or establish a clear boundary. Your assignment is not to manufacture forgiveness, force agreement, or make another person mature by Friday. You can communicate love. You cannot compel its reception. At work, your responsibility may be to improve your competence, submit the application, arrive prepared, and follow up appropriately. But you cannot climb across the desk, seize the manager's pen, and sign your own promotion. That is not initiative. That is a security incident. Why is this distinction important? Because when you assume responsibility for outcomes you cannot govern, your emotional stability becomes attached to somebody else's behavior. If they approve, you feel valuable. If they delay, you feel rejected. If circumstances change, your confidence collapses. You have surrendered your peace to variables that never accepted responsibility for protecting it. Now make two short lists. On one side, write mine to carry. On the other, write mine to release. Under the first, record every honest duty that belongs to you. Under the second, place reactions, timelines, decisions, and results beyond your authority. Then say, I will be faithful with what is mine, and I will release what is not. Releasing false responsibility is not indifference. It is humility. It is respect for the limits of human authority. You are not refusing to care. You are refusing to pretend that caring gives you control. Now your field of responsibility has boundaries, but knowing what could be done is not enough. The next test goes beneath the action and asks a more uncomfortable question. Why do you feel compelled to do it now? Now we come to the second test, motive. Ask yourself plainly, am I acting to fulfill a responsibility or am I acting to make anxiety stop? That question matters because identical actions can come from entirely different motives. One person sends a calm follow-up because communication is appropriate. Another sends 5 messages because silence feels like rejection. One person apologizes because integrity requires correction. Another apologizes for things they did not do, abandons every boundary, and reduces themselves to nothing because they are desperate for reassurance. One person makes a thoughtful plan. Another attempts to plan every minute, every reaction, and every possible disaster until the plan requires its own government. The action may look responsible from the outside while fear is directing it from within. So ask another question. What emotional payment am I expecting from this action? Do I expect immediate certainty, approval, escape from guilt, protection from rejection, proof that I am worthy, faithful, or spiritually mature? Be honest. Anxiety often calls immediate relief, peace. But relief and peace are not always the same. If relief was obtained by pressuring another person, making a premature commitment, manipulating a response, or abandoning a necessary boundary, you did not resolve the fear. You simply paid it, and fear always returns with another invoice. There is also a form of pride hidden inside compulsive fixing. We say, I'm only trying to help. Sometimes that is true, but sometimes we secretly believe nothing can continue unless we manage it. Everyone must respond properly. Every door must remain open. Every problem must receive our personal supervision. That is not always service. Sometimes it is an inflated sense of control disguised as concern. Here is the clean motive test. Would this still be the right action if it did not produce immediate reassurance or the response you desire? Would you still tell the truth if they misunderstood you? Would you still apologize if they did not forgive you immediately? Would you still prepare faithfully if the opportunity remained uncertain? If the answer is yes, your motive is becoming clearer. Now name the fear without condemning yourself. Say, I am afraid of being rejected, or I am afraid this opportunity will disappear. What remains hidden controls you. What is honestly acknowledged can be surrendered. Remember, obedience may still feel uncomfortable. Courage is not emotional numbness. The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to prevent feeling from becoming your ruler. Say this aloud. I will not use action as medication for uncertainty. I will act from truth, love, and responsibility. Responsibility is clearer. Motive is clearer. But one question remains before movement. Is this the right action at the right time? The third test is timing. And timing matters because our culture often confuses speed with strength. We assume the quickest response must be the boldest response. We treat delay as weakness and hesitation as failure. But speed is not wisdom. Speed is only speed. A correct action taken too early can create unnecessary damage. Yet endless postponement can also become fear disguised as discernment. Some people rush because they are anxious. Others delay because they are afraid. Both are being governed by emotion. Mature faith recognizes rhythm. There is a season to prepare, a season to grow, a season to execute, and a season to wait attentively. Waiting is not wasted when it is producing readiness. Think of an opportunity as a door. Seeing the door does not mean you should break it down. An open door still requires a prepared person. And if it is not open, throwing your whole body against it repeatedly does not make you faithful. It may only make you sore. How do you know when waiting is wise? Wait when essential information is missing. Wait when your emotions are so elevated that you cannot distinguish conviction from reaction. Wait when sound, counsel, prayer, or further preparation is genuinely needed. Wait when no present duty is being neglected by the pause. But how do you know when waiting has become avoidance? You already know what responsibility requires. The next step is available. The risk is reasonable. You have enough clarity to move, but you keep demanding a guarantee. You say, I am waiting for perfect peace, when what you mean is, I refuse to move until uncertainty disappears. Uncertainty may not disappear. Faith does not require possession of every detail. It requires enough direction for the next act of obedience. And mature patience remains active. While you wait, you study, you prepare, you strengthen your habits, you pray, you improve your competence, you honor current commitments. You do not sit beside the door complaining that it has not opened while ignoring the tools already in your hands. Ask yourself this. If nothing outside me changed for the next 7 days, what preparation would still be wise and available today? Write the answer. That may reveal whether you are waiting faithfully or postponing responsibility. Remember, delay is not automatically denial. Difficulty is not automatically misdirection. A hard road may require endurance, and a quiet season may require preparation. Do not worship speed, but do not baptize procrastination. Say this aloud. Faith does not force tomorrow, and faith does not neglect today. Now responsibility, motive, and timing have narrowed the decision. We can bring the question down to its most practical form. What is the smallest faithful action available to you now? The fourth test is proportion. What is the smallest faithful step available now? A proportionate step is large enough to fulfill today's responsibility, but small enough to leave the final outcome unforced. It does not attempt to finish tomorrow's work today. It does not demand that one action resolve an entire relationship, secure a complete future, or remove every uncertainty. Anxiety dislikes small steps because they do not feel dramatic. Anxiety wants a grand gesture, an immediate confrontation, a sweeping promise. Why? Because dramatic action creates the temporary sensation of control. It releases emotional pressure even when it creates practical damage. But disciplined faith moves differently. Sometimes the faithful step is one clear message, not 10 messages followed by just making sure you saw the first 9. Sometimes it is preparing one document, not attempting to guarantee the entire opportunity. Sometimes it is one honest conversation, not demanding a permanent resolution before anyone leaves the room. Movement can produce clarity, but only when movement follows direction. Panic also moves. A person running in circles is moving vigorously, but vigor is not progress. Small faithfulness develops capacity. When you care consistently for what is already in your hands, you become prepared for greater responsibility. You do not need to transform everything in one day. You need to handle today with integrity. A life of purpose is not built only through impressive moments. It is built through ordinary obedience repeated with discipline. Now apply this action filter to your situation. Is it honest? Is it mine? Is it timely? Is it proportionate? Can I do it without controlling another person's response? If the action fails that filter, reduce it until it becomes clean. Remove the manipulation. Remove the unnecessary drama. Remove the demand for guaranteed results. Keep the responsibility. Then reduce your next step to one verb. Prepare, ask, apologize, decline, apply, wait, learn, serve, document, rest. Which verb belongs to you now? Do not leave it as a vague intention. Give it a realistic boundary. I will send one clear message by noon. I will prepare the application this evening. I will request the conversation tomorrow. I will wait 3 days while gathering the information I need. Write your action and your time boundary. Then listen carefully. Once you complete the faithful step, do not reopen the decision merely because anxiety is still speaking. Emotional discomfort may remain after obedience. That does not mean you must add another action. Let the action stand. Let truth have time to work. Say this: I will do enough to obey, but I will not overreach to control. You now have an executable next step. But taking that step is only half the discipline. The other half is releasing what happens after the step is taken. Human participation is necessary, but human control is limited. You must act where responsibility requires action, yet you must also know where your authority ends. This becomes difficult after you have done your part. You send the message, then check whether it was read. You submit the application, then refresh the page. You hold the conversation, then analyze every pause and facial expression. When the result does not appear immediately, anxiety whispers, do something else. So you send another message. You offer another explanation. You make another promise. You call it follow-up, but sometimes it is fear wearing a necktie and carrying a clipboard. Calm obedience does not collapse into frantic escalation. It also does not retreat into passivity. It continues through ordinary routines. You pray, you work, you care for your relationships, you keep learning, you fulfill the responsibilities that remain in front of you, even while one outcome is unresolved. Use this sequence. Perform the duty, review it honestly, correct any genuine error, and then release the outcome. Notice the difference between correction and compulsion. Correction responds to evidence. Perhaps your message was unclear, a deadline was missed, or important information was omitted. Correct it. Compulsion responds to imagined catastrophe. It assumes silence means rejection, delay means disaster, or uncertainty means you must interfere again. Evidence may require adjustment. Imagination does not always require action. Consistency protects your peace because it gives your life a stable rhythm while circumstances remain uncertain. When prayer, work, relationships, rest, and personal growth continue in proper order, one unresolved matter cannot consume your entire identity. You remain faithful without becoming frantic. And if the result disappoints you, do not immediately conclude that obedience failed. A faithful action is not proven right only when it produces your preferred outcome. You may speak honestly and still be misunderstood. You may prepare thoroughly and still not be selected. Integrity measures whether you acted in alignment with truth, not whether you controlled the response. Pressure can also reveal where patience, character, discipline, or wisdom must grow. That does not mean every hardship was specifically sent to teach you, and it does not minimize real pain. It means difficulty does not have to be wasted. Now name one result you must release. Say it aloud. I release their response, or I release the final decision. Then name one responsibility you will reclaim. I will continue preparing. I will keep my word. I will care for what is in my hands. Work with excellence. Wait without panic. Remain available, but refuse to become desperate. Peace does not require possession of every answer. Peace grows when responsibility remains within its proper boundary. We have now completed the 4 tests. Let us assemble them into a simple protocol you can use whenever pressure tries to take command. Here is the complete urgency test. Keep it where you can see it, because pressure has a way of making us forget what we understood in peace. First, become still. Separate facts from assumptions, fear from instruction, and emotional intensity from actual duty. Second, test responsibility. What is yours to carry? What may you influence? What must you release? Third, test motive. Are you acting from truth, love, and integrity, or are you trying to purchase immediate relief? Fourth, test timing. Is this the moment to move, the season to prepare, or the time to wait? Fifth, choose one proportionate action. Do enough to obey without attempting to control the whole result. Then surrender the outcome. Let us make it shorter. Stop the rush, sort the responsibility, expose the motive, assess the timing, select the step, surrender the result. Imagine you have pursued an important opportunity. You prepared, submitted what was requested, and were told to expect a response. The expected day passes. Silence. Fear says, send something immediately. Maybe they forgot you. Perhaps somebody else has taken your place. But you stop the rush. What are the facts? The response is delayed. What is the assumption? The opportunity is lost. What is the fear? Rejection. Now sort responsibility. You can verify the stated timeline, prepare one courteous follow-up, and continue improving your work. You cannot force their decision. Expose the motive. Are you following up because communication is appropriate or because you need reassurance this minute? Assess the timing. If the deadline has passed, one message may be appropriate. If it has not, preparation may be the faithful action. Select the step. Send one clear message or wait while continuing your work. Then release the result. Notice that the test can produce 3 legitimate conclusions. Act now because responsibility is clear. Prepare while waiting because readiness is still required. Or release the matter because no present duty remains. This protocol does not promise perfect certainty. It trains you to act with integrity while knowledge is incomplete. Use it before sending a major message, making a commitment, confronting someone, making a purchase, or withdrawing from something important. Afterward, review your decision. Did it produce greater honesty, responsibility, alignment, and steadiness? Or did it merely provide a few minutes of relief? Now repeat the sequence. Stop, sort, expose, assess, select, surrender. Again, stop, sort, expose, assess, select, surrender. Return to the unresolved situation you brought into this message. Which conclusion applies? Act now, prepare while waiting, or release it. Name your answer. The framework is now in your hands. But a framework must become a personal covenant. Carry what belongs to you, release what does not, and move from peace. We began with a difficult question. What if the decision you are rushing to make is not obedience, but anxiety wearing spiritual language? Now you know how the disguise is removed. Examine responsibility. Examine motive. Examine timing. Examine proportion. Anxiety becomes easier to recognize when it is required to answer honest questions. You may still lack an explanation. You may not have a guarantee. You may not even feel completely comfortable. But you do not need complete knowledge to fulfill a clear, present duty. You need enough light for the step in front of you. Release the guilt of not controlling other people. Release their reactions. Release unseen circumstances. Release future timing. Release the final outcome. You were not created to govern every variable in existence. You were called to steward what has been placed in your hands. But listen carefully. Surrender is not an excuse for passivity. You cannot release the outcome and neglect the preparation. You cannot claim peace while avoiding honesty. You cannot speak about trust while refusing discipline, service, or courageous action. Faith carries responsibility without carrying the illusion of control. So write your smallest faithful step now. Make it specific. Schedule it if a time belongs to it. Then write the outcome you must release. One action, one boundary, one surrender. Now declare this with me. I will not call panic obedience. I will not call avoidance peace. I will carry my responsibility. I will release the result. I will move without forcing. Say it again, this time as a decision. I will not call panic obedience. I will not call avoidance peace. I will carry my responsibility. I will release the result. I will move without forcing. This is how you become steady under pressure. You remain productive without panic, patient without stagnation, disciplined without desperation, courageous without control. You can send the honest message and release the response. You can prepare thoroughly and release the decision. You can apologize sincerely and release the timing of reconciliation. You can establish the boundary and release the opinion it produces. You can wait without surrendering your purpose, and you can act without attempting to become master of the future. Let peace return to its proper place. Peace is not the reward for controlling everything. Peace is the atmosphere of a life that knows its assignment. So when urgency speaks again and it will do not surrender your judgment, become still. Test the burden. Find the faithful step. Complete it with excellence. Then let the outcome go. Urgency is not the same as obedience. Your assignment is clear enough. Your next step is small enough. Your responsibility faithfully performed is enough for today.